So it's been about 10 years ago. A real good friend of mine named Joe, he had the word of the Lord. Because, see, he was engaged with God. You just kind of, you can set it down so you don't have to hold it as heavy. I know. Right? Okay. So just right, perfect. I'll tell you, actually, come up here and just kind of hold it. That'd be perfect. Right there. Yeah, everybody can see it. Beautiful. He's doing great. So a friend of mine, Joe, had the word of the Lord, and he goes, I'm trying to get a listing on a property, this property. And he goes, you and Diane need to be there. And then he does stop, and he goes, well, 50-50 shot. Could be Joe, could be God. I said, not doing it. You guys know the story. So we come, it was that night. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon when he called, and he's like, you need to come over tonight. We're doing this walkthrough at this building. And so I get here, and I start looking at it, and the owner of the building is here, and we start walking through this building. All of a sudden, I just kind of turn to this guy, and I go, how much you want for this thing? And he goes, $1.85 million. I went, like, why didn't Joe tell me that? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm, like, not your person. Yeah, I have no money, no people. We haven't even started a church. Like, this is ridiculous. Now this guy thinks not only I'm crazy, but Joe's crazy for bringing me over. We walked through, toured this whole building, but the guy was very polite, walked us through the whole place. And as we're going out those Wild Horse doors, now remember, it's all you can ask or think. Engage with God, because at the time, all of a sudden, God started engaging me as I'm walking through this place. I remember even looking up in the ceiling, and the presence of God was hitting me. I'm like, no. I feel you, Lord, but no. And so God was engaging with me, and I was engaging with him, and I'm going out those doors, and the guy goes, hey. And I turned. I go, yeah. He goes, what do you think? And I mean, just like flew out of my mouth. I go, whoever gets this place, it's going to be an amazing hub. There's going to be all kinds of ministries and people just flying out of this place, whoever gets it. I go, they're going to be very blessed, whoever gets it. And I don't know how that hit me. See, I was engaged with God. He was engaging with me, and I was trying to resist it, but that's what hit me, that boom. That's what do you think? And that's what I thought. Of course, everything unravels, and we get the place, and I'm like, God, what do you want? And he goes, remember what I spoke to you that night? I said, oh, it's supposed to be a hub. And as soon as I said, it's supposed to be a hub, now I'm engaged with God at this point. I'm asking I got a lot of questions at this point. I'm asking a lot. And I go, I remember saying a hub. And as soon as I said that, he gives me a picture of a fireball, a shaft of fire coming down. And he goes, that shaft of light, that fire is my presence. And he goes, this is going to be a hub. And he goes, people are going to come here and they're going to experience my presence as I hit them. He goes, they're going to encounter me. They're going to experience me. They're going to hear my voice. And so I could see it. And as I'm seeing this shaft of light come down, I could see the hub starting to form. And I could see people and just getting touched by God, encountering God. And it was just so irresistible. And I was so pulled into it at that point. And I go, it's like the wheel within the wheel. And he goes, exactly. And then I saw like the spokes, the other shafts of light coming out. As people encountered him, it was just like as they went out on their daily lives, or just like Emily Grace, all of a sudden, God has hit her, encountered her, and she's the shaft of light connected to this, and she's going to the state of Washington, because on the outside of the wheel within the wheel, it says eyes, which are us, people. And so she's going to be out there. We're all networked, and she's going to be out in that place in the state of Washington, connected to God, the presence of God. And all of a sudden, she's going to start seeing things that I'm not there. She's going to see, and she's going to touch. But every one of us are one of these lights. And so it was just as simple as, oh my gosh. All I saw, or all I was thinking, was hub. And then all I was seeing was the shaft of light. And then God, I'm like, can you just define that better? Because when I say, oh, it's like the wheel within the wheel, people kind of look at me and go, what? The wheel within the wheel. And I go, well, yeah. I go, there's this shaft of light, and it hits the hub. And I go, there's this inside hub. And I said, I could even see it spinning one way. And I said, people getting touched by the presence. And they were going out like the spokes of the wheel. And as they would go out, another wheel would form. And it was all the people. And like, so the world I touch, the world you touch, the world you touch, every one of us touch. And we're on this, and we're all touching other lives. And it just keeps expanding, almost like when God said, let there be light. And there was no stopping it. It just kept touching it. It kept going. And so it's everything that we could ask as we engage with God or imagine. I mean, he said exceedingly abundantly above, like it will blow your mind. Like you can't think through all of it. It was like at Jefferson and Cass. All I saw was flyers and a barbecue grill. My mind couldn't even begin to think what God was going to do. I mean, it was ridiculous when God starts unfolding things in our lives, and he puts something in there. He puts a dream or puts a desire. And I even remember the provision. I'm like, well, God, how are we going to do these barbecues? And what do you really want to do? Like, I don't even understand. And it was I think it was the second barbecue. This guy comes walking up to me, and he goes, hey, thanks for doing this. I love what you're doing. He said, I had a few giveaway things. He goes, I don't really need things. I got a good job. He goes, you need to talk to my boss. And I'm like, who's your boss? And he goes, oh, his name's Larry. I can't even remember the guy's last name. He goes, he's my supervisor at Dow Corporation. You just need to talk to him. And I'm like, I do? And he goes, oh, yeah. You need to talk to him. You need to tell him what you're doing. Tell him that I sent you. And he gives me the guy's phone number. And I'm like, oh, I'll try it, He was engaged with God. I wasn't. But I'm like, I'll try. I'll call. I called this guy, and I said, so-and-so told me, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, oh, you need to come over. Bring a truck. I go, I do? And he goes, yeah, bring a truck. And I get over there, and he goes, this is awesome what you're doing in our city. And he goes, we always set so many pallets aside for donations as people are helping people. And what I didn't realize is in the inner city, laundry detergent is like gold. You can't buy it with food stamps. He gave us pallets. That was just one thing. That was so exceedingly abundantly above all I could ask or I wasn't even thinking that. And it was just lives being touched and people so I was even thinking about this. I'm like, God, this is so different. But people from a 25-mile radius, did they really come? And he goes, like everybody volunteering, John, they came, they got activated, their lives are forever changed. Just like when he sets a hub up, your life is forever changed. All of just one thing. And so even in Jeremiah 1, he said, I knew you before you were formed in the womb. And in verse 4, it says, and the word of the Lord came to me. So he was engaged with God. And it's like, oh, I knew you before you were formed in the womb. This is who you are. And so who you are, that's a big, big, big question. But also, who are you going to become? And he said, I called you to be a prophet among the nations. And then so a few verses down further, he goes, Jeremiah, what do you see? See, it was the same thing. God's like, what do you see, John? I said, I see a hub. Correct. Just like he told you, correct. You're seeing clearly. I'm like, I don't know what it means. But I see a hub. And I see this shaft of light. And I'm seeing these things, God, but I don't understand it. It's like a mystery. And I said, I need revelation on it. And he goes, well, you're seeing correctly. And so what I'm going to define this thing as is this is stepping into a move. Is when we step into this shaft of light, presence driven, I need to be the centerpiece of the whole thing. And so I'm asking you now, step into a move. And I'm like, that makes sense. More than, it's a hub. Because a hub can mean a lot of things, right? I mean, like I was seeing a hub on a wheel and all kinds of different things. And he goes, so presence driven, he said, when you step into that place, and he said, my presence hits you, he said, you're going to encounter, you're going to experience in a way you never had before. And so is everybody else. And I went, well, that's good. I like that. And then he said, raise up an army. And I'm like, how do you do that? Because I was never in the military. Like, how do you raise up an army? And he goes, when they encounter me. He said, when they encounter me, they'll hear my voice. And then they'll engage with me. And then he said, I'm going to put dreams, I'm going to put visions in people's hearts. And there are going to be those that trust and surrender and just go, okay, God, here am I. Just like Isaiah, he said, oh, Lord, when he encountered him, here am I, oh, God. If I get the worship team to come up. Whew, boy, I had a lot of stuff here. But anyway. Thank you so much, Hunter. Give Hunter a round. That was awesome.